Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
With this past week, with all the drama with the American election or the election in America, presidential election, and all the hype and the emotions around that, it came to the fore how we handle different perspectives and viewpoints on a subject, and often around politics and religion, those thorny issues, there's usually very high
And
emotions
strong
and
opinions.
strong opinions involved. And often it deteriorates in mudslinging and bad feelings, or everything that goes with that. And we thought, and we were talking about it quite often this week. How do you handle different perspectives where people oppose you or they have a totally different viewpoint? How do you approach that?
Well, I think in the first instance, what I was thinking in terms of this situation is that we have a perspective based on what we can gather from information from media, maybe from friends living in America, but we have a certain picture that is not a complete picture.
Yes.
It is impossible for on a subject like this to know everything or to know enough to really, just as common people, to really feel that you're an expert on what would be the best perspective or what would be the right perspective. So I think in that instance, and the US media is also not so is so biased that you cannot, it depends on what you're looking at is what you're getting.
Whatever network you're watching,
Yeah,
it
you're
will
getting
give.
more of that.
Yeah.
So you don't have an objective, unbiased picture, so you cannot actually have a very complete perspective on it. But then we all have feelings, emotions, and all of that. So I think just to realize that your perspective might be valid in certain instances, but you might also be wrong in certain because you don't have the whole picture, just the same as everybody else. So in terms of that, I think, and what we see there is the animosity between the two groups is so big and huge that it doesn't seem that there are any conversation taking place.
Yes. Yes.
Which makes things worse because you cannot understand the other person's perspective if you're not in a conversation.
Yeah, very hardline stances.
Yeah.
Where you don't cross the line, where you don't listen.
Yeah.
And it came back. And I mean, that's one of the hot topics that we always come back to. And that is conversation and listening and a certain humbleness. And often when we.
And a willingness.
And a willingness. And a deep realization that that is actually the best method. It won't help if I convince somebody against her will and say, you better believe this is how
Or
it
that
is.
you are actually able to convince anybody,
Yeah.
and whether that would be the best thing to try and do. But I think also what happens in situations like with religion and politics, it becomes everything. It becomes the whole, it encompasses everything. And while that is not the truth,
It colors our lives.
it colors our lives because it has an influence, and it has an influence that is larger than us. We can't really do much about it. Like nature, like storms and tornadoes, all of that, we don't have control over those things. And in terms of politics, we might have one vote, but if the vote has been cast and it opposes our vote, then we are delivered into the hands of whatever we think will be coming towards us. So, but that is just part of our lives. We still live in a community. We still have neighbors. We have family. We people that care for us, and we care for them. And that is bigger than politics and even the way that we might be practicing religion. And I think if we lose sight of that and decide hard and fast on these perspectives, we will definitely not be making any ground, gaining ground.
Yeah, and a matter of, if you do not agree with me, you my enemy.
Yeah.
So I'm avoiding you, I'm not
Yeah.
helping you.
Yeah.
And that human contact and care and hospitality or whatever, common decency, where that falls to the wayside.
And it's about perspectives. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that diagram, that meme where two people are standing opposite each other with the number on the ground, and the one sees a 6 and the other person sees a 9, and they're both right. So in certain instances you're right, in certain instances the other person is right. There's that other the story
Of the blind men
Yeah.
being led to an elephant because they say they want to feel what an elephant is like, and the one is at the trunk, the other at the tail, the other one at the side, and each one, depending on where he finds himself, that's his picture of what an elephant is. The elephant is a rope, the elephant is a wall, the elephant is a piece of string, or whatever. But we know in part, and I mean, one can read up and you can watch the news and so on, but there's also always, I would say, one has to be careful not to make sweeping statements because of this limited exposure. And then when we have the conversations with people, not listening and doing that conversation, or when we're not in the conversation, I came across this very interesting book, The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And it's a dictionary of emotions for which there aren't words. We feel them, we experience them, and these words were made up. But it's very interesting. But one that fascinates me is the word Zuska. And it means to have an imaginative conversation before you have the conversation with somebody.
So deciding what somebody else is thinking about you or going to do.
I know exactly what she is thinking.
Yeah.
There where she is now, I know what her strategy is.
Yeah.
And what her feelings towards
So
me.
you're making up her mind for her.
Already. So there's no conversation taking place, and we work ourselves so up in the process that it really hinders conversation when it starts. It's not helping. It's not helping. So it's really a matter of deep humbleness to be informed, to have a viewpoint, but not a viewpoint to convince others, but a viewpoint that also helps you to go deeper and get a deeper understanding even of the other person.
Yeah, and it's not the whole picture.
Yeah.
There's more to life. And whatever life holds, you have people around you. And a conversation can also be an act of service. It can be the way that you greet somebody. It can be anything. It's not so much conversation specifically about this perspective that you are not sharing with somebody.
Yeah, so a fairly heavy topic.
It's been a heavy week.
It's been a heavy week.
Yeah.
But for the coming 3 weekends, we'll be away on holiday, the first one in a long, long time, going to the Karoo and down to the Cape, visiting friends and family, going on a road trip. We're very much looking forward to it. So we're going to return in the last week of November. So we'll be back on the air the first weekend in December.
Yes.
But in the meantime, take care of yourself until we chat again.
Keep well, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.